I'm Larry Menti. Jersey Matters comes to you this week from Martin's Place, which is a re-entry program for those who have been incarcerated. And we're going to talk with the man who heads up this program, former Governor of New Jersey, Jim McGreevey. Also, the PGA Championship is coming to New Jersey. We've got all the details, those stories and a whole lot more because Jersey Matters. Welcome to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Menti. We come to you this week from Jersey City. We're in Martin's Place, which is a prisoners re-entry program, and it's run by the Jersey City Employment and Training Program. The executive director of that program is Jim McGreevey, former governor of the state of New Jersey. Sir,
Larry,
thank you so much.
Great, and you said that all so well, so God bless you.
Yeah, I do well on a second take. You started this in September of 2014. I should say you and Jersey City started this in 2014 of September. What have these successes, and if there are any failures, successes and failures been so far?
Sure. Our overall recidivism rate is 19%. So that means, thankfully, only 19% of the women and men who come through our program go back to prison. And that's the most important statistic because America has this perverse love affair with prisons. We're 5% of the world's population. We're 5%, but we're 25% of the world's incarcerated population. We lock up fully 1% of our fellow citizens at a cost of $74 billion, with a B, billion dollars annually. And that's a huge sucking sound.
Let me just stop for 1 second because I want to ask you a question just based on what you said. Are there people that make a profit off of that?
Sure. Sure, there's a whole industries. And what happens is, you know, Larry, if people went into prison and they walked out and they never went to prison again, I could find it morally objectionable. I could find it a sad legacy on the plight of America, but it would have worked. But this isn't working. 2/3 of the people who walk in, come out, and go back. And so what's really problematic, if you think about it, if you're taking somebody who's a drug addict or drug abuse, and you really want to cure them, where would you put them? Would you put them in a treatment program where they learn responsible behaviors, they learn to deal with their inner demons? Or would you put them in an environment with, frankly, some of the most maladaptive, worst behavior, criminal behavior in America? And so when we think that 70% of the people behind bars are addicts, 70% of the people behind bars in America are addicts or alcoholics, and we're putting them into prison with people who are murderers, in some instances, some really bad people. What lessons are we teaching them? So I think you've got to go to the crux of America's criminal justice system. You know, our colonial forebears, you know, is rooted in Puritan Christendom, is that you would spend time in the stockade, you would serve your sentence, and then you were fully a part of the community. There was an blemish. You had paid your debt to society and you returned. And the sad reality today is we're putting more and more, particularly of our young men, through prison, in many cases because they have a drug problem. They walk out with a felony conviction, and there's a whole host of things that they can never do again. They can never access a college loan. Certain cases, they can't get certain types of jobs. They certainly can't get certain types of security clearances. And so what happens is we're growing this whole class of people that are excluded from American life, which was never, the whole purpose of the criminal justice system was to correct the behavior and then bring them back, not permanently ostracize them.
Right, let's get to Martin's Place for a second, because you can't break down those barriers. You need to work around them. Are you able to do that?
Yeah, I mean, we're blessed to work with Hudson County. We're blessed to have a great working relationship with the governor's office, with the chief of staff, Amy Craddock, all the commissioners. And so we make sure that people, when they're coming out of Hudson County Jail or they're coming out of state prison, we work with them closely to register them for general assistance so they have sober, structured housing. You know, to take somebody coming out of prison or out of jail, Larry, and then put them into a housing facility where the person on their right and left is doing a bag of dope and they pick up again, well, then it's all for naught. So we're very much concerned about sobriety. Sobriety, sobriety. And then in addition, we help them with their license, we help them get health care, and then eventually on the path towards a job, towards employment, self-sufficiency.
And when that's successful, I would imagine it affects the crime rate, it affects the poverty rate. It is a cycle of that.
It's a cycle of good, as opposed to a narrative of a cycle of self-destruction and destruction to the community, but you have to work it. So if a guy comes out of prison, comes out of Northern State, and he does it, and he maxes out, and he serves the entirety of his term, and he doesn't have a place to live, well, where is he going to go? He's going to go to a shelter. How is he going to get an ID? He only has the Department of Corrections ID. So he can't get an ID, he can't get an apartment, he can't get a job. Then how is he going to get connected to health care? If he has diabetes, or if he has hepatitis C. You know, President Obama has the Affordable Care Act, but you need to be access to Medicaid. How is he going to secure housing? So somebody has to work through, I mean, Larry, you know, I was in government for 30 years. I can't fill out these applications. And then there's applications for general assistance, applications for Medicaid, applications for motor vehicle, applications for employment, and there's a whole host. And so what we do is we're their shepherd, we're their guide, if you will. We're the local parish priest or rabbi taking them through this almost confusing maze of regulatory policy and application.
When you first opened, the neighborhood was upset that they weren't notified properly. You apologized for that.
Sure.
You took responsibility for that. Has that all been cleared over?
Yeah, I mean, you know, part of this is the frustration is, you know, and I'm in different counties. I mean, we're in Ocean County, we're in Passaic County, we're in Essex County. These are our kids. I mean, they're not landing from Mars with a beam. These are our kids.
No, but come on, you understand.
No, I get it, but I also want to push back a little bit. No, I do get it. I firmly get it. But also the flip side, Lara, is that nobody wants them anywhere. I mean, if I walked out to Main Street, USA, and any town in America, and like my hometown of Woodbridge or Jersey City, where I'm born, and say, would you like a reentry program? You know, aside from, there's this one great nun.
And to your earlier point on that point, if you put them in a crime-ridden neighborhood, you're just defeating the purpose.
Exactly. I mean, they're going to go back to running and gunning and doping in the same corner selling drugs, and we're going to be like, hey, how did this happen?
Do you tell them, the people that come here, that if they screw up, they're not only hurting themselves, but they're hurting the other people that are here, and they're hurting your initiative?
Yes. I tell them that what they do, they need to pay it forward. They need to stay in your sobriety, be a responsible citizen, earn a job. When somebody goes, Larry, from being an inmate in a jail or prison to being a taxpayer, to being reunified with their children, to being a responsible neighbor, that's wonderful. And so, like, just think of this. It's so easy to put somebody in jail or prison at a cost of $45,000 a year. And we do it for 3 years, or 7 years, or 15 years, and that's okay. It's easy, it's incredibly expensive. What we do here is roll up our sleeves in the hard work, all right? We're gonna test your urine, we're gonna make sure you're sober, we're gonna make sure you show up on time for work, we're gonna make sure that you go to the doctor responsibly. You know, I'd like to think that we're, you know, they say in Latin, locus and parentis. We're almost the local parent, making sure that you play by the book.
We will continue our conversation in just a moment with former Governor of New Jersey, Jim McGreevey, when Jersey Matters continues.